Good afternoon, ma'am. I will be discussing Chapter 3, Light and Camera. For a police photographer to take consistently successful photographs, he must understand the basic optical principles underlying how camera works, the type of lens and lighting equipment to utilize the film, speed or digital setting to use in a particular situation, as well as the advantages and drawbacks of different camera formats. By becoming familiar with the controls on the camera, the photographer will be able to concentrate on the composition and lighting of each photograph. Light. Light is the very essence and the basic substance of photography. It is important to understand how light behaves and how lenses form into images in order to gain broader view of possibilities of photography. So, ang light ang isa sa pinaka-importanting materyales sa photography. We tend to take light for granted even when it is light that enables us to view the world through our eyes. Light is what enables our eyes to see. Just sound enables our ears to hear, and flavor enables our tongue to taste. So, ang light ay isa sa mga rason kung bakit tayo nakikita ko ang mga bagay-bagay dito sa ating mundo. In Langford's basic photography, visible light is defined as a stream of energy radiating away from the sun or similar radiant source. Number 1. Light behaves as it moves in waves like ripples crossing the surface of water. Variation in wavelength give our eyes the sensation of different colors. So ang light ang rason kung ano nakita tag mga line-line na color. Number 2, light travels in a straight line with a uniform substance or medium. Can be seen in light beams and shaft of sunlight and way the shadows fall. Light moves at great speed, approximately 300,000 kilometers or 186,000 miles per second through the vacuum of space. It moves less fast air and slightly slower in denser substances such as water. Light also behaves as if it is consists of energy particles of photons. These are bleached dyes cause chemical changes in films and electronic response in digital camera sensors. The more intense the light, the more photons it contains. John Hitchcock explains the path of light in photography by starting with the subject and light source. Light rays reflected from the subject of the photo are transmitted through a glass lens at the front of the camera to form a latent image of the film. A lens consists of convex disk of ground and light is prevented from reaching the film by shutter until your chosen moment of exposure, the point at which the lens focuses the rays. The focal plane coincides with the position of the film when the lens is correctly focused. The focal plane is where the rays of light refracted by the lens converge to form a sharp upside image. Light travel from different distances from the camera, needs varying degrees of refraction to focus the focal plane. So a focusing mechanism moves the lens forward away from the position of the film, and focal plane coincides when the lens is correctly focused. So ang focal plane, the distance between your camera lens and the perfect focus in an image. Ang refracted kay kuan siya ng with the rays of light refracted by the lens of converge. The amount of exposure to light is most often controlled by a combination of time, The shutter is often the shutter speed. Diameter of the light beam passing through the lens, the aperture, the shutter speed, and the aperture are controls that influence the visual result. Shutter time alters the way movement in recorded blurred or frozen, while lens aperture alter the depth of subject that is shown in the focus time, depth of field. These controls will explain further in this chapter. So, two main sources of light. Natural light. This refers to the daylight coming from the sun, which is generally utilized for outdoor photography, or light that comes to existence without the intervention of man. Light produced by the sun including direct sunlight, the soft light in a shadow light, that bound or reflective surface, moonlight reflected from the sun, and starlight are all sources of natural light. So natural light ay mo ni mga light nga paraning gikan sa sun natong nakita. Daylight photography depends as much on the quality of the daylight as strength. The quality of daylight is combination of contrast and color, temperature of color of the day. So ang daylight nagadepende lang siya sa kanang kahayag sa atong adlaw sa adlaw. Natural light can be classified according to its intensity. Bright light, a lighting condition wherein objects in open space cast a deep uniform shadow. In bright light, the subject will produce strong shadow because the source of light is not covered by clouds. In black and white photography, the object of the subject looks contrastly. So kining bright light mo ning hayag kayo ang adlaw na init kayo, wala di nakatabon nga cloud sa sun mo nang bright kayo, walay kanang hayag kayo kay wala man joy clouds nga nakatabon sa sun. Hazy light, a lighting condition wherein the object's open space casts a transparent shadow. A hazy sunlight is covered by the clouds and the shadow appears bluish because of the decrease of the light falling on the subjects in open space. The shadow cast in transparent to the eye or more detail are visible under this lighting condition than in bright sunlight. When the sunlight is obscured by light clouds, the intensity of direct light falling in on the subject and there is hazy light, kuan siya ang medyo medyo nakatabon na cloud sa sun, and tungod ani mas nindot ang kuha sa camera kay dili man kay siya ingon nga hayag kaayo. Open space, dull light, a lighting condition wherein the objects in open space cast no shadow. In dull sunlight, the sun is totally covered by thick clouds. No shadows are formed due to the uniform illumination of light around the subject in open space. So pasabot ani mas ang sun kay totally tabunan jud siya sa clouds. Marang medyo landong siya kay wala totally baga man ang clouds na nakatabon siya. Artificial light, this refers to a man-made sources of light used or utilized for indoor photography to align the adverse lighting condition. It is also utilized to align the hazy or dull light in outdoor photography. This includes all natural sources such as conditioned light from incandescent fluorescent light bulbs, electronic flashes, and studio strobes. So, kining artificial lights, kining mga man-made sources na gikan sa mga suga para ng incandescent, fluorescent, or bulb na siya. Ano siya? Sources of artificial light: A. Continuous duration, fluorescent lamps, incandescent lamps, tungsten light, photo flood lamps, infrared lamp, ultraviolet lamp. A short duration, flash bulbs, chemical flash lamp, flash cubes, flash bar, X cube, electronic flash. Types of electronic flash: A. Strobe cube, sleeve unit or sleeve flash, right light accessory flash unit. Types of accessory flash units: manual flash. This flash units requires you to figure out the correct exposure for your shooting condition. So ang manual kay nag-require siya kay require you to para mahibalaan nimo ang tama nga exposure sa shooting conditions. Number 2, automatic flash. These flash units use automatic sensors to control light output and duration based on the distance from the camera to the subject. When you set the aperture you want to use, the flash will automatically calculate how much light is needed to illuminate a specific distance range as 3 to 15 feet. The flash unit will have an electric eye that reads the amount of light bouncing back from the subject. So, ang automatic flash kay siya na nag-calculate kung unsa kahayag ang iyang ihatag sa subject yung ipagawas. Siya na siya na nagadepende kung tama lang ba o dili. Dedicated light unit, they are made to work with your camera in specific electronic means. They will do all the thinking for the photographer, automatically setting the correct shutter speed and aperture and controlling the exposure by regulating flash duration. Number 4, built-in flash unit. A flash unit built in the camera. So nanay sasulod sa camera ang flash, sasulod sa camera ang pag magkuha ng picture, automatic magawas na ang flash. Off camera flash, a flash unit that mounted on the camera. So kini mo ni ang kanang mga flash nga wala sa camera para nang nasa monopod kang monopod na nasa flash mo nang motong tawag nga off camera flash. Flashing synchronized speed is a shutter speed that can be used when working with a flash unit to obtain evenly lit results. The camera, by definition, a camera is a photogenic apparatus used to expose sensitized films or fluids to reflected light images from a lens. It can also be considered as light tight box with a means of forming the image, holding sensitized materials and controlling amount of light that will reach the film. A camera usually has electronic refinements and automatic features, but underneath all that is a basic design that includes a light-proof container with the whole one cover with the lens placed on the holder opposite to accommodate either a strip. A lens is placed on the holder opposite to accommodate either a strip of light sensitive film or light sensitive electronic chip to produce correctly exposed image in a variety of light intensities. The camera lens has an iris diaphragm that can be adjusted to leave a hole of varying diameter. This is called aperture. On a fixed lens compact camera, the lens also contains a shutter mechanism known as a between the lens shutter, which opens allow light to reach the film. The shutter allows you to choose the precise moment of exposure, and by selecting from a range of shutter speeds, you can also control the length of exposure. The shutter mechanism on a single lens reflex SLR camera is located inside the body behind the lens, just in front of the film or digital. Camera types. Number 1, SLR, single lens reflex. Cameras are the most popular type for serious photography. This could be either digital or used or 90mm film. As an SLR camera's unique features lies in the design of its viewfinder system, in which system of mirror shows the user the image precisely as the lens renders it. Thus, no matter what focal length lens is attached to the camera, the scene of photographer sees through the viewfinder corresponds exactly to the scene by the lens. Compact or point and shoot cameras can be either digital or film cameras that are light and very easy to use. This non-SLR camera does not support interchangeable lenses, and the view seen through the viewfinder is not exactly the same as the seen through the lens. This problem can result in the framing errors and not seeing whether the image is correctly focused. They are called point and shoot because they have controls that either very simplified or very automated, or both. Such cameras are meant to use record snapshots without having to learn how to use a camera. Number 3, medium format camera use wide rolls film between the 35mm and 4x5 inch formats or for better image definition because of the large negative size. The image resolution is higher with medium format than 35mm cameras. These cameras tend to be more expensive and lenses tend to be large. So maning mga camera na medyo mas mahal siya. And the lenses kay kung mas dako ang lenses mahal lang siya kay mahal lang ang lens sa camera. Essential parts of camera: light, tight box or body. Part of the camera that is very important because of its capacity to exclude all the unwanted light that might expose the film. So mga na pinaka isa sa importanteng part sa camera. Lens, a glass plastic crystal of optical element molded into a curved shape that can be bent to focus light rays of light, responsible for focusing the rays of light coming from the sun. So lens, plastic or crystal, man siya makita na mo sa tubangan. Film holder holds the film firmly inside the camera. So ang film holder kay mo nang naggunit sa film do sa kasulod sa body sa camera. Shutter, device used to control the amount of time during which light is allowed to enter the camera and register on the film or image sensor, serve as the barrier of the rays of light that will enter the thick film inside the camera. So shutter, ang shutter the shutter opens and fully exposes the common sensor to the light that pass through your lens. Viewfinder, an optical electric device used to compose and frame a scene, shows that entire scene coverage that can be recorded in the film inside the camera, also called a view system, a finder or viewing screen. So mo na makita nimo ang view or makita nimo ang view kung sa imong kwaon or viewing screen. Film advancer or unlever mechanism for moving film from one spool to another incrementally, one frame at a time. Shutter speed, it will control the duration between the opening and the closing of the shutter. So mo na control sa opening and closing for the shutter. Lens aperture, an opening diaphragm in a lighting blocking plate that allows light to strike the film image sensor. The ratio between the diameter and focal length of a lens, the light gathering power of the lens. The diameter of the lens diaphragm can be changed by turning the aperture. This dictates the brightness of the image reaching the film, moving to the if number either hubs or doubles aperture size. Aperture size also affects depth of field. The higher the number, the smaller the lens opening. The smaller the lens opening, the greater the depth of field. Focusing mechanism, the sharpness or clearness of objects being photographed will depend upon the focusing system of the camera. The focus is physical point at which rays of light from a lens converge to form a properly defined image of the subject. So focusing mechanism, mo na nagakontrol sa sharpness and clearness sa objects ng imong ginapicturan ba, sa imong ginaphotograph. Camera lenses. As a defined above, a lens is a glass, plastic, or crystal optical element molded into a curved shape that bend and focus rays. Light is responsible for focusing the rays of light coming from the subject. Simple lenses feature a single convex or concave lens. Most photographic lenses feature multiple elements housed in single lens barrel that cancel out elements. Weaknesses to produce sharp image. The size of the individual lens and elements and the positions determine the angle of view and focal length of the lens. Standard camera lenses. 1. Standard normal lens. A standard lens or normal lens has a focal length is roughly equivalent to diagonal of the light sensitive image recording area within the camera. They usually have wide maximum apertures, making them useful in low light situation. Wide angles. A wide angle lens has a focal length shorter than the diagonal of the film frame or image sensor. It provides a broader angle of view than a standard lens and is therefore ideal for photographing group people or when working in confined space. However, distortion may be a problem if the lens is used too close to subject. So ginagamit sa wide angle sa sabot ani mas lapad siya, mas nindot siya sa kung dagan ang ginakuha ng mga group picture, mas nindot siya gamitan kay mas lapad man nga makuha. Long focus lens. A long focus lens has a focal length that is much greater than diagonal of the film image format, in which use longer focal lengths. Useful for taking large images or distant subjects or when unable to move close enough to subject to use a shorter lens. So long focus lens, mo ginagamit siya kanang mga bird hunting ka, mga layo ang mga subject bitaw. Mo siya ang ginagamit. Zoom lens. A zoom lens has a variable focal length, allows fine tuning or subject framing by adjusting the focal length of the lens. Ginagamit siya sa mga useful action shots. Kaya makuha man siya, makuha magid siya kung siya gusto niya makuha, mas focus magid siya. Special camera lenses and zooms. The following are zooms designed for the 35mm format. Mirror lens. A mirror lens uses a combination of glass elements and mirrors that bounce the light up and down lens barrel, manipulating the light rays to allow a long focal length to be contained within a physically short space. The compact design reduces the bulk and weight associated with the extreme long focus lenses. Ultra wide angle lenses. Example in the fisheye lens, which has very wide angle lens that produces distorted view of the world. Man siya, mas tako mga ang kuha niya kay ultra wide magud siya. Mas tako ang kuha niya. Wide angle zoom. A wide angle zoom is likely to be slower and heavier and show more images distortion than wide angle fixed focal length. So it has the advantage of being able to select immediate focal length setting. Shift lens. A shift lens is also sometimes called a perspective control lens. It can be shifted off center in relation to the film frame so that the correct perspective can be achieved when the photographing converging vertical lines such as tall building. Macro lens. Macro lens are designed to render subject within one by one or higher magnification for very close focusing distance. They are useful in making close up or small subjects. So kaning macro lens sinagamit sa kung mag-picture ka ng magagmay kayo nga object kanang sa gagmay jud kay kung kini mo gamiton maklaro ka siya kay maman jud ginagamit ang macro lens. Telephoto lens. Lens has focal length longer than the diagonal of the film frame or image sensor. Telephoto lenses make a subject appear larger on a film than normal lenses. At the same camera to subject distance, they also have shallower depth of field than wide angle lenses. They are usually used in sports photographers typically use a monopod for support and maneuverability. Ang mga telephoto lens mo na ginagamit sa mga sports, kaya makita ni mga naman na isa stand bitang gamit sa mga reporter mo ni siya. Telephoto zoom. Telephoto zoom ranging from 75 to 300mm encompasses about 6 fixed focal length lenses. This type of zoom is popular with sports, wildlife photographers. It's also useful for portraits. It can be used for photograph particular landscape dito. So telephoto zoom, nagamit siya ng isang ginaingon nga kanang sa mga bird hunting bitaw, kanang sa mga wildlife, kanang makita yung detalyado sa, for example, langga, para detail jud kaya ang mga picture nila makuha. Classification of lenses. Positive lens. A convex lens characterized by the fact that it is thicker in the middle than the edge and form a real image on the opposite side of the lens that has positive focal length and bend the rays together. So ang kanyang positive lens, mas baga siya sa tunga kaysa sa mga kilid niya, sa mga edge niya. Negative lens. A concave lens characterized by the fact that it is thinner in the middle than the edge and forms virtual image on the same side of the lens. It does not require focusing at all, as everything will be sharp, upright, and clear, no matter how close or far away the object. It is also known as diverging lens because of its power to diverge rays of light and pass through it. So mo siya mas nipis yang sa middle niya sa lens kaysa pod sa edge na mas kabaliktaran pero sa positive lens. Inherent defects and aberration of lenses. Chromatic aberration, inability of the lens to focus all colors in the same plane. It is a lens defect, which is the trouble bringing all the different wavelengths visible light into focus at the same point of the film. This is the most difficult lens aberration to correct. So mo siya, wala siya ability para focus ang tanang color sa isa nimo ka shot nimo, dili dito naga-focus ang di niya kaya focus ang tanang color. Spherical aberration, a lens defect wherein the photographic rays passing through the edges refract more sharply than those passing through central part of lens, thus become focus at edge than the central rays. So mas naka-focus sa kilid lang sa edge lang kaysa sa tunga or middle o central. Astigmatism, the inability of the lens to focus in both horizontal and vertical plane at the same time, or inability of the lens to focus in both lines running in different direct. So problema po niya kay dili siya makapokus sa horizontal or sa vertical or sa mga both lines di maglisod siya focus ana. Distortion, outer parts of the image produced by the lens will be magnified either less or more than the outer image. Distortion comes in two basic forms. Pincushion distortion. In pincushion distortion, there are straight lines near the edges of the frame bow towards the center of the frame. The curving is inward. Barrel distortion. In barrel distortion, straight lines near the edges of the frame bow outward from the center. This is known as the lateral aberration. It is concerned with rays entering the lens obliquely. It is a lens defect that produces blurred comet-like image. So naga-blurred ang kuha niyang image, yung mga imahe. Curvature of field. The image formed by lens comes to a sharper focus on a curved surface than on a flat surface. Chromatic difference of magnification, the inability of the lens to produce images sizes of object with different color. Types of lens according to that of their degree of correction. Achromatic or apochromatic lens corrected for chromatic aberration. A spherical lens corrected for spherical aberration. Anagmatism or anastigmatism lens correct astigmatism. Process lens corrected for astigmatism but high correction to color, or super corrected lens for astigmatism. Rapid rectilinear lens, a lens correct for distortion, a combination of two achromatic lenses with most the same focal length. Camera accessories. Tripod. So, kapag naman tayong tripod, man yung ginagamit sa patunganan sa camera. Cable release, a cable with button plunger attached to a camera to prevent accidental movement and eliminate camera shake. Magsag stabilizer para di magliok-liok ang camera. Flash unit, an artificial light source synchronized with the opening and closing of the shutter, emit very bright burst or animation to scene. So manang flash, manang musiga. Light meter, devices in determining the intensity of light that strikes subjects and affects the film. So light meter, siya ang nag-determine sa intensity sa light nga padong sa subject. Extension tube, a tube inserted between the lens and camera body to provide increased magnification for macro photography used in photographing minute objects. Filter, piece of colored glass, gelatin, plastic, or other materials that attach to a to over camera or in larger lens to selectively absorb or otherwise alter the light passing through it, used to enhance color or contrast, remove reflection, to reduce haze, obtain focus, or produce a variety of special effects. Filters can also classified into five, namely contrast filter, adjust the tonal differences of an image; correction filter, a colored filter used in black and white image capture to ensure that tones are reproduced with the same relative brightness as perceived by the human eye; haze filter, used to filter out ultraviolet radiation which can use a bluish fog, loss or detail distant object, or used to protect the front lens element from dust, moisture, and scratches. So haze filter, nagprotektahan niya ang lens sa moist o sa mga abog-abog o sa scratches. Sky filter, the graduated filter design darken the sky while leaving the foreground exposure unaltered. So sky filter, ginakuan niya, ginawag ng hayag-gayo, ginapalandong niya. Polarizing filter, gray filter, used over light sources camera lenses to reduce specular reflections on a certain surface. So primary color filters allow that the particularly primary color to pass through. That is red allows red to pass through, blue allows blue, and green allows green. Complementary color filters work in the same way. Yellow is mixture of red and green, so yellow filters allows only those to pass through, and also on. So color combination of photographic filters: yellow and magenta equals red, cyan and magenta equals blue, cyan and yellow equals green, red and green equals yellow, blue and red equals magenta, blue and green equals cyan. Secondary colors of light. Camera grip, a device used to hold the camera firmly so at is prevent vibration or movement. So camera grip, device siya nga nagunit sa camera para ma-avoid ang shaking o mga advantage nga mga movement. Lens hood, a plastic, metal, or rubber device that attaches to the front of the lens to extinguish light, eliminate reflection that might destroy the image cast by objects, especially when the light is coming from the top. Side portions of the camera also offers added physical protection against accidental blows, also called sunshade or lens shade. White handkerchief or other flash diffusion material, levels, tape measure, color chart, or color controls patches injury photograph. Proper handling of camera. Camera motion can be used by lack of sharpness. There are two prime causes of camera motion. Vibration, usually caused by the movement including the beating of the heart. So vibration, kanang mo shake siya, mulihok siya para nang kurog imong kamot or beating sa imong heart. Actual camera when caused by the improper holding of the camera, parang di tama yung pagguhit sa camera. How to hold the camera. Camera motion can result in blurry images. To prevent this, it is important to hold the camera properly by considering the following. Hold the camera with the right hand, place the index finger under the shutter, release the thumb, shutter be under the film, advance lever, and the remaining three fingers against the front of the camera. The heel of the camera must lie on the palm of the left hand. 3. The photographer's arm should be resting against the body with the legs far enough apart to be a steady base. With taking photograph in kneeling position, do not rest the elbow on the knees as the bone-to-bone contact is unsteady and will be reflected in the photograph. Care and handling of the camera and film. The photographer should take care of the camera between uses by keeping it out direct sunlight and away from the heat sources. So, dapat imong camera palayo nimo sa heat sources or sa sunlight. The camera should never be exposed on direct sunlight or to heat inside the glove compartments or trunks of the vehicles during hot weather. So, dapat di mo siya ibutang sa mga trunks sa kotse during the hot panahon. Exposed film should be maintained in a refrigerator or processed immediately. Kung naka-expose na film, dapat siya nagabutang siya sa refrigerator. In cold weather, the camera should be protected by keeping it under your jacket as the film may become brittle or water break. So kung bugnaw pa lang, dapat nasa sa gym jacket no, nakabutanganan. Salt water may be also damage the camera and film, so make sure the camera will fully protected. So kuan pag ang tubig dagat kadato sa camera. Negative should be placed in a plastic sleeve to avoid scratches. Thank you, ma'am.